In the beginning, before the stars, before the earth, and before time itself, there was only Eloria, the great weaver of worlds. She sat in the vast emptiness of the void, spinning threads of light, life, and shadow. Her loom was made of stars yet unborn, and the fabric she wove would one day become the universe. Eloria wove two threads with great care, one of shimmering gold, representing life, and one of deep, endless black, representing death. As she wove these threads together, they danced and intertwined, neither one overpowering the other. From their union, the world as we know it was born. From the golden thread sprang forth the beings of the world, plants, animals, and humans, all filled with the essence of life. Eloria gifted them breath, movement, and joy. The golden thread, vibrant and warm, coursed through everything that lived. It sparked the sun, made the rivers flow, and brought laughter and love to the people. The world thrived in harmony for a time, with all creatures enjoying the gift of life. But Eloria knew that life alone could not endure forever. Without the balance of death, the world would become bloated, stagnant, and filled with endless suffering. Thus, she introduced the black thread of death into her weaving. Where the golden thread gave life, the black thread brought rest and renewal. At first, the beings of the world were frightened of death. They saw it as a shadow creeping at the edges of their existence, an end to their joy and their love. But Eloria, in her wisdom, sent a guide, Kalos, the gentle shepherd of souls. Kalos was not grim, nor was he cruel. He appeared as a figure of serene beauty, draped in silver mist with eyes like the stars themselves. His task was to gently gather the souls of those whose time had come and lead them to the eternal tapestry, where their essence would be woven back into the fabric of the universe. When the first beings died, Kalos cradled them in his arms and led them across the veil of shadows, where they would join the endless stars above. The people soon learned that death was not a punishment, but a necessary part of life's journey, the cycle of rebirth. Yet, this was not the end for the souls who crossed into death. After some time in the embrace of the stars, their spirits were gently unwoven by Eloria herself, their golden threads respun into new forms. Those who had once walked the earth returned as new beings, trees, birds, rivers, or even stars in the sky. Each soul carried with it a faint memory of its previous existence, like a faint echo of an old song. The world became a place of endless cycles, where life gave way to death, and death gave way to life once more. The challenge of mortals, not all were content with this cycle. Eloris, a mighty warrior and ruler of a great kingdom, defied death itself. He had grown powerful and wise, and his fear of the black thread consumed him. He sought a way to unravel the black thread from his soul, to live forever in the golden light of life. Eloris searched the world for a way to avoid the shepherd of souls, believing he could escape the fate that bound all living things. After many years, he found the hidden cave of eternity, where the golden thread of life originated. There, he confronted Eloria. "Weaver of worlds, grant me immortality," he demanded. "I will not go gently into the shadow. I will not fade." Eloria looked at Eloris with sadness. "Child of the earth, do you not see? Without death, life itself would lose its meaning. The cycle of life and death is what makes existence beautiful. To sever the black thread is to unravel the very fabric of the world." But Eloris would not listen. Determined, he stole a fragment of the golden thread and fled, seeking to weave his fate with only the light of life. For a time, he succeeded. He did not age, and his body became impervious to illness and injury. However, as the years passed, the world around him began to wither. The flowers no longer bloomed, the rivers dried up, and even the sky became dull and lifeless. Eloris soon realized the terrible truth. Without death, there could be no renewal. His immortality had come at the cost of the world's vitality. The people and creatures he loved withered and died, leaving him alone in an eternal wasteland. The final lesson. In his despair, Eloris returned to Eloria and begged for her forgiveness. "I see now," he said. "Life without death is a curse, not a blessing. Please, Weaver of Worlds, restore the balance I have broken." Eloria, with compassion in her eyes, took the golden thread from Eloris and rewove it with the black thread of death. Instantly, life returned to the world. The rivers flowed, the trees bloomed, and the stars shone brightly in the night sky. Eloris, now understanding the true nature of life and death, willingly followed Kalos across the Veil of Shadows. In time, his spirit was woven back into the fabric of the universe, becoming a great oak tree that stood at the center of the world. There, under its branches, the people would gather and tell the story of Eloria, the weaver of worlds, and how the threads of life and death must always remain intertwined. The myth of life and death is a theme explored in many cultures, religions, and philosophical systems, often seeking to explain the mysteries of existence, mortality, and what lies beyond. Here are some of the most prominent interpretations of the myth of life and death across various traditions. Ancient Egyptian mythology. Osiris and Isis. In Egyptian mythology, Osiris, the god of the dead, is killed by his brother Set but resurrected by his wife Isis. Osiris becomes the ruler of the afterlife, symbolizing death and rebirth. The myth represents the cyclical nature of life, where death is not an end but a transformation into another state of existence. Greek mythology, Hades and Persephone. The myth of Persephone, who is abducted by Hades and taken to the underworld, explains the seasons. Her descent into the underworld during autumn and winter symbolizes death, while her return to the earth in spring represents rebirth and life. This myth connects death to the natural cycles of the earth. The river Styx. In Greek thought, crossing the river Styx was necessary for souls to pass into the afterlife, symbolizing the transition between life and death. Norse mythology Ragnarok. In Norse mythology, the idea of life and death is tied to the end of the world, known as Ragnarok. This event is a final battle where many gods die, but it also leads to a rebirth of the world. This myth teaches that destruction is necessary for renewal. Valhalla. Warriors who die honorably in battle go to Valhalla, where they prepare for the events of Ragnarok. This afterlife is considered a continuation of existence rather than an end. Hinduism, samsara and moksha. The cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, samsara, is central to Hindu belief. Life is viewed as an eternal cycle, and death is merely a transition. The ultimate goal is moksha, or liberation from this cycle, achieving union with the divine. Yama. Yama is the god of death in Hindu mythology, who oversees the journey of souls after death, determining their next life based on karma. Christianity, Jesus' resurrection. In Christian belief, the resurrection of Jesus Christ symbolizes victory over death and offers hope of eternal life. Death is viewed as a passage to another, higher form of existence in heaven or hell. Judgment Day. The concept of final judgment also shapes Christian views of life and death, where each person's fate in the afterlife is determined by their earthly life. Aztec mythology Mictlan. In Aztec belief, Mictlan is the underworld where most souls go after death. The journey to Mictlan is long and arduous, taking years for souls to reach the final resting place. Life and death are seen as interconnected, with death serving as a vital part of the cosmic balance. Tanatea, sun god. The Aztecs believed that the sun god, Tanatea, needed human sacrifices to continue his journey across the sky. This belief emphasized the cyclical nature of life, where death ensures the survival of life through cosmic order. Buddhism. Reincarnation and nirvana. Like Hinduism, Buddhism teaches that life and death are part of the cycle of samsara. The goal is to escape this cycle through enlightenment and reach nirvana, a state beyond birth and death. In Buddhism, life and death are illusions, and the ultimate reality is beyond both. Native American beliefs. Cycle of nature. Many Native American tribes see life and death as a continuous cycle, closely tied to nature. Death is not feared but accepted as part of the natural order, and the spirits of the deceased are believed to remain part of the community in various ways. African traditions. Ancestor worship. In many African cultures, death marks the transition of an individual to becoming an ancestor, who plays an active role in guiding and protecting the living. Life and death are seen as intertwined, with the dead still influencing the world of the living. Philosophical perspectives. Existentialism. Philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus explored the meaning of life and death from an existential perspective. For them, death brings finality to life, making the search for meaning essential. Life gains its value precisely because it is finite. Eastern philosophy, Taoism. Taoism emphasizes the natural flow of life, including death. Death is seen as a return to the Tao, the fundamental essence of the universe. Life and death are two sides of the same coin, and one should embrace them as part of the eternal flow of existence. The myth of life and death across cultures emphasizes different aspects: rebirth, continuity, judgment, or transcendence, but they all grapple with the mystery of existence and the human desire to understand what lies beyond death.